YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back with quarterback rankings, ranking 32 quarterbacks from worst to first based off of the first half of the 2019 season. That is very important. That is the only thing it's based off of. 32 quarterbacks ranked, one quarterback from each team, taking the quarterback from each team that has played the most games. We will do this video again at the end of the year, so there may be some different quarterbacks depending on quarterbacks staying healthy, obviously. Couple important things here. I don't care about stats. I don't care what the stats say. Stats are just there to confirm what I see on the field. I think people overrate players off of stats or underrate players off of stats, especially yardage. I don't care about PFF grades. This is just my opinion. What I've saw, I feel very strongly about this. It's based on the season alone. I will also, within the video, predict for each of these quarterbacks if they will get better by the end of the year, worse, stay the same in terms of the ranking, because like I said, we'll do this ranking again at the end of the year. But so we're clear, these rankings are not predictions. They are based off of how they played in the first half of the 2019 season. So should be an interesting one. Before we get started, we got extra content available on our Patreon, patreon.com/thegoathouse. There's a link in the description. You get playoff predictions every single week. You get different score predictions done here on YouTube every single week. You get 2020 NFL mock drafts every week. All that one package deal, updated every single week. Again, there's a link in the description for that. We're trying to get to that 40K goal. We're getting somewhat close here. Trying to get there by 2020, so please help us out. Recaps, power rankings, predictions, videos like these during the year, in the offseason, full free agency and NFL draft coverage. We got you covered here. All kinds of NFL action here at the GOAT House. Click that like button. Check us out on Twitter at GOATHouseNFL. There's a link in the description for that. 32 quarterbacks ranked. Let's start at the bottom. I'm going to break it down. Who's lucky 32? It's Sam Darnold, unfortunately. Sam Darnold, comes back in from, being sick. Obviously had mono, and pretty solid game against the Cowboys. And then since then, it's been downhill. Yeah, he doesn't have the best help. That's obvious. Maybe his coach doesn't help him out a whole bunch, but the turnovers are on him. These are definition, this is a great example of turnovers that are on the quarterback. Everything from top to bottom. Decision-making, or where you're placing the ball, I guess you'd say the accuracy, decision-making, mechanics, how he's throwing the ball, and crucial situations where they could come back in games, and he kind of just gives it away. So the main thing is, you don't expect his mechanics to be this bad, and just moments where you just don't know what he's thinking. Most quarterbacks' interceptions, they're just placed in the wrong spot, and you're kind of questioning the thinking, the decision-making. But every single time it's like that for Sam Darnold. It's been brutal. And I wasn't a big fan of him in the pre-draft process. I didn't expect him to be this bad at this point right now. But it doesn't shock me all that much, because he's always made these interesting decisions and turn the ball over. They don't really go away. They'll cut down maybe a little bit. The mechanics mainly will get a little better, so that'll help cut it down. But you can't just eliminate these types of decisions and turnovers. That's why I really wasn't high on him. Second half prediction, I'm saying up, but not much. I just don't think he'll be dead last. Well, he shouldn't be dead last but by the time we do this at the end of the year, because of all these new quarterbacks coming in. We see all these new quarterbacks that are stepping in for the second half of the season. Darnold should not be dead last. I think he'll be close, but I'll give him that up arrow. Mitchell Trubisky at 31. I never was a big believer in him. Now teams are starting to figure him out. He's pretty easy to game plan against. He's missing some throws, worse than he was missing last year. Usually you don't see quarterbacks kind of really get worse. You just kind of see defenses kind of figure him out and learn how to game plan on him. It's a mixture of that, but some of these throws are just way off target. He leads the NFL in most uncatchable throws, which is not a good number for him. It's well above 50%, which is not good. And, it's weird because you think he's, fits the Nagy offense, but it just seems like he doesn't. It just seems like, maybe he shouldn't be running RPO, and he shouldn't be, he should be a traditional quarterback. But the bottom line is he's missing throws he should hit. He's not turning the ball over a whole bunch, I guess, which is a positive when we're talking about these guys down here, but just so off target in throws. And he may not even be able to be the best quarterback on the Bears there. So he's at 31 in the second half. I don't expect too much of a change. I think he'll have the most starts. I don't think Chase Daniel will. There's really no point, for the Bears to put Daniel in. It's not going to, They know they're not going to win anything with Daniel. They're probably not going to win anything with Trubisky this year, but you might as well keep the young guy in, see if he can progress somehow. But I don't really see any change really for him. In number 30, it was Andy Dalton on the first half of the year. Obviously wasn't as bad as the two guys below him, but not far off. Crucial turnovers in crucial situations where they could have been in games. I know he doesn't really have the help with the offensive line. AJ Green's out. Joe Mixon's not playing that great. Defense isn't helping him out, but crucial turnovers is mainly the main reason it brings him down to 30. He's always been somewhat accurate, too, on the throws he did hit in the past years. Not as accurate as he used to be. Case Keenum at 29. Not a whole bunch of interceptions, I should say, but not the smartest in the pocket. See a lot of strip sacks, but mainly not really the strip sacks, fumbling the ball, but mainly just not smart in the pocket. Mechanics look a little off compared to the last few years. Just no pocket presence. And he's not throwing the ball as bad as the guys below him, but just not enough where it should boost off. And as you see there for the second half prediction, I have not ranked for Andy Dalton because I think Ryan Finley, I know Ryan Finley will be the guy for now. I think he'll be the guy for the rest of the year. So I think we'll be ranking Ryan Finley at the end of the year. Case Keenum, it's a toss-up. I'm predicting Haskins will get majority of the starts in the second half of the season. Because the season's kind of over. Let's see what Haskins has got. Let's see if he can learn, improve. Makes the most sense to me. But I wouldn't be surprised if we were ranking Keenum at the end of the year here in the same video once we get to the season's end. The next 4 quarterbacks. 28, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's a weird one to rank because obviously doesn't have too much talent at all around him. Maybe the least amount of talent out of any guys. You see the offensive line rebuild, running backs rebuild, receiver rebuild. There's not too much there. And Fitzpatrick's actually made some solid plays. Some questionable turnovers, though, and he's really not getting the job done, getting the wins at the end. So he finds himself at 28, I do think, better than the guys below him. And then second half prediction, I'd say he stays around the same. Is an accurate prediction for me. 27, Baker Mayfield, which is surprising to see him down here. Just a lot of turnovers, a lot of questionable decisions. I know the offensive line has been making it worse on him. He's actually had quite a few drops. The receiver's been dropping a lot of his balls. So you may look at the stats and say, well, he has way more turnover ratio, way worse completion percentage is the guy below him. I still like the edge for Baker Mayfield as the guys below him because of the drops. He's making some stupid decisions, but it definitely could be worse. Throwing off the back foot a lot, under pressure, panicking under pressure. That's kind of the negative, and that's why he's down at 27. But I think in the second half of the season, it will go up. I think it will cut down on the turnovers, and it'll get some more, positive plays, whether it's touchdowns, yardage. I think there'll be more positive plays here for the second half of the season for Baker Mayfield. So I don't think he'll be ranked down at 27 in the second half of the season. Don't expect a big spike, but I think we should see one. Joe Flacco at 26. I'm predicting not ranked second half. I think he'll be done for the season. People rip Flacco, I think, a little too much for the first half of the season. It's been bad. He deserves a little ripping, but I don't think it was that bad. I have him ahead of some of the other guys you could see. He's made some. I don't think he's made any terrible decisions, really. He's had some bad decisions in terms of turnovers, but there's a lot better play and safer play than the guys below him. He's made some good throws. He's helped, development of some of the receivers, like Cortland Sutton. He's played solid at some times. He had an adjustment early in the years when he was playing bad, and he had an adjustment to make. First year, he hasn't played. He didn't play since the first half of the season last year, and now he switched teams. So it's an adjustment. His offensive line's beat up and playing pretty terrible. You give him some slack there, but still, obviously, I don't think anywhere near highly of him at 26. I think we'll be having him not ranked in the end of the year rankings. Marcus Mariota comes in at 25. We've seen him get benched by Ryan Tannehill. I think it will stay that way. So I think Tannehill will be the one being ranked when we come back to this ranking video at the end of the year. Mariota, however, was definitely much better than the guys below him. He's definitely didn't last as long because they benched him, but he was pretty safe with the ball, not a lot of turnovers. I think where he was off was his pocket presence and stepping into sacks, and he didn't really make those big time throws downfield which I don't really think that they didn't really allow him to, honestly. The playbook was very conservative, and they kind of opened it up more now. I'm still on board with Mariota being better than Tannehill. It's pretty close. I don't blame them for the benching, though. I don't think either are the answer for the Tennessee Titans next year, and I don't think Mariota will be a Tennessee Titan next year, and I know he won't be ranked when we do this video at the end of the year because it'll be Tannehill getting most of the starts. But Mariota, I'd actually say much better than the guys below him here as we saw so far. Because he was safe with the ball, accurate with the ball. To me, I wouldn't view him as, bad. I view most of these guys as bad in terms of their first half play. I wouldn't say he was bad. He had bad pocket presence. Guys 26 through 32, for the most part, I'd label them bad. So we're on to the next page here, 24 up to 21. So 24 was Daniel Jones. Second half prediction, about the same for me. The problem with him is kind of feeling the pressure, pocket presence, and fumbling the ball. He has a big-time fumbling problem, and I kind of saw that coming once we saw him in preseason. Throwing the ball pretty well. Mechanics, throwing the ball, throwing motion, good arm strength, pretty solid accuracy, too. It hasn't been too off with his accuracy. Just a couple throws that were, I really blame the decision-making, but not a whole bunch. He's actually shown some promise. But obviously 24 is not the best rank, but that's okay for where he's at right now, kind of getting thrown into a bad situation. I don't expect him to get any better. You expect rookies to get better. I just, maybe slightly, but it almost seemed like he was better right when he was thrown in there too, so he kind of calmed down from then. We've seen that a lot of quarterbacks. So I say about the same. So he's at 24. Jameis Winston at 23 leads the league in interceptions, so people may say that and say, how is he 23? Well, first off, 23 is not a good rank. But, yeah, better than some of the other guys that has thrown less interceptions. But Winston makes the big play. Some of these guys are in an offense where it's just a one-read, quick throw, and they're still missing throws, and they're still turning the ball over. Winston, he's got a tough job. He'll do a bit of everything, throw the ball downfield, crucial situations. Maybe he makes a lot of mistakes. But I still would rather have Winston based off the first half of the season play. Some of these other quarterbacks, because he can actually make that big time throw. But bottom line is he is costing the Bucs some wins. He's going out there and getting them the lead, getting them some good points. But at the end of the day, he may have costed them some wins with his interesting turnovers, to say the least. So that's why he is down at 23 at the end of the day. But I think he'll go up a little bit. Nothing major. Second half of the season, I think he'll. The ratio between touchdowns and turnovers could possibly be better. We'll see, though. 22 is Gardner Minshew. Started off real hot, Minshew mania, and kind of calmed down since then. Not as good. So if these rankings were, after the first few weeks when he was in, probably be a little higher. But the last few weeks really brought him down, expecting him not to be ranked in my end of the year video because Nick Foles is taking over. I expect him to have, Foles, that is, to have more of the starts going forward here. But Minshew, he was a weird one because back and forth in the pocket, pocket presence. 1 second looked good, like he can feel the pressure behind him and really steps up in the pocket in a great way and throws it. And then the next second he's kind of getting a little too crazy there in the pocket, stepping into sacks, backing into sacks. So it's kind of back and forth there. He succeeds more in the underneath throws, the quick one-read throws. So I'm not gonna favor quarterbacks that in that type of offense. And now he's starting to turn the ball over a little bit last few weeks. The pocket presence kind of went down a little bit too. But 22, he had pretty impressive at the end of the day. Pretty impressive. I don't expect him to be ranked. And then Kyle Allen comes in, and he looked a little better right when he came in than now. Still looking pretty solid, still super impressive. I had a draftable grade on him a year ago, so it's really cool to see him, former top recruit, to get going. Second half of the season, I think it goes down a little bit. Nothing major, but I think some guys behind him could be ranked ahead of him. I just don't think his play will be as good, but I'm not saying it's going to be a big dive or anything. I think it kind of some of these guys are coming back down to earth. As time goes on here, it's kind of what I'm predicting, but nothing major. He's taking care of the ball pretty well. Some pretty impressive throws downfield. He's not putting up major points unless the defense is getting a big time turnover for him in a good field position, or if Christian McCaffrey's running wild. So let's see if he can continue to pick this up. But 21 is pretty impressive for him, even though it's not the best rank. Still an impressive dude for this year. Next group of guys, Josh Allen at number 20. Second half of the year prediction, about the same. This one was tough because I actually can see an increase of big plays for him. I can see an increase of maybe touchdowns, but that also can increase, the turnovers, the decision making, some along that line. I expected him to be better right now, honestly, if I'm being quite honest. Not a whole lot better, but it's mainly the defense, and they're kind of asking Josh Allen to be a game manager now, which is, I guess, helping him win games. Where they're beating the Eagles, and he has a crucial turnover, and then that game goes south, and he has teams, lets team kind of come back on him because of his turnovers. So I guess he needs to kind of be a game manager, but that's not him. I think eventually, the beast will probably, get, rip out of the cage, I guess you could say. I think he's going to go for the big plays because that's just how he is. And will it increase him in touchdowns and yards? Probably, yeah. Will it increase in turnovers? Probably, yeah. And we'll see how it pays off for the Bills. That's kind of just a prediction. But I think around the same. Because there's positives that will come from it and there's negatives. But on this year, yeah, it's either you got some big-time plays from him in one game with some good yards and, making some big plays. But then you also have those crucial turnovers that I don't like. And then you got the games where he's just kind of a game manager and there's nothing really to get excited about. As a team, there's things to get excited about. But Josh Allen finds himself in number 20 based off of his first half of the year, play. 19, it's surprising to see Jared Goff down here, especially behind a rookie. So he had 17 and right behind a guy like Mason Rudolph. Pretty crazy. But Jared Goff did not play good in the first half. Better than, 19's okay. It's nothing terrible. But he felt the pressure, was not good under pressure. A lot of times for me when watching him, it just seemed like he simply did not know what to do with the ball. And because he's more talented than some of the guys below him, a lot of those times it didn't really turn into turnovers. He had quite a bit of turnovers. He was leading in interceptions for a good chunk of the season there. But what I'm saying is some of the other quarterbacks that we know aren't as good as him, if they were in his situation where he just did not know what to do, they'd be throwing more interceptions. So it just shows that he's better than a number 19 quarterback, and that's why I'm predicting in the second half of the season, I think he'll go up. The offensive line is not as good as it was last year, and that could be a reason for this. So I don't think he'll go up a whole bunch. I think it's mainly because he has a little better arm talent than some of these guys that he'll go up ahead of, and because it's a really good system. It almost feels like McVay's the quarterback at times. So he'll go up as the Rams go up in terms of better play. I don't know if anything crazy, a good amount up, we'll say, from 19, but it's crazy to see him down here from the first half of the season, but he has not been good whatsoever under pressure, and defenses maybe starting to figure this out. That's what happens. I always say quarterbacks 99% of the time don't get worse. It's defenses figure them out, or maybe offensive line plays not that good. So it's a mixture of both of that. Maybe it's not really him getting found out. It's more of McVay's system. So we'll see. Maybe he doesn't improve second half of the year. I just think he will. But again, it's wild to see him down at 19, but that's where he belongs first half of the season. Mason Rudolph at 18. He's been a pretty safe quarterback. Not a whole bunch of turnovers. We've seen some lately. Impressive. He'll have impressive throws downfield here and there. And then he's getting wins, being more impressive than people expected him to be. Nothing crazy. Kind of just more of, in the middle there. So he's at 18. And, I think he'll probably go down the second half. I don't think at the end of the day he's a number 18 quarterback, and I think guys below him like Jared Goff, maybe like Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield, maybe even Josh Allen could, outplay him in the second half of the season. But Mason, I don't expect a big dive in play. He's going to be fine. He's not going to start throwing an insane amount of interceptions or anything. I just, maybe he can cost him some games. I just don't think he'll be as safe with the ball in the second half of the season, but very impressive guy there, coming in at 18, well in the top 20 there with the first half of the season. And 17 is Kyler Murray. He comes in at 17, above guys you don't really expect him above before the season starts. He's been slowly improving. We see it. I have him staying about the same in the second half because, he's a first overall pick. He's a rookie. You expect him to improve. I just don't think it'll be anything major. He'll get better. That combined with it's going to be tough. Once we get into 16, 16's kind of the big boys, and then there's a gap, I guess with the top 8 maybe. But it's going to be tough to hop the guys ahead of him, and I don't think there's going to be any insane improvement this year as his career goes along. Sure, that makes sense, but maybe just some improvement, but just not a whole bunch. for me to put an up arrow next to that second half prediction. But he's been impressive. Cardinals are going to be scary in a few years if they do this thing right. They're going to be scary, and it starts with Kyler Murray. So it's definitely a team I'm looking forward to watching, down the line there. So he's at 17. Now we're into the big 16 here. Number 16 is Matt Ryan, and this is one of those guys where people will go run look at the stats. He's got pretty good numbers, but if you actually watch the game, and 16 is a good rank. I guess maybe it's not for Matt Ryan, but if you watch the games, he's kind of held his team out early in games. We know their defense gets a bunch of points, and the Falcons end up coming back and getting their points because Matt Ryan plays good down the line. But early in the game, he doesn't play that good. Some crucial turnovers. He's had some bad turnovers, some bad decision-making. You see it throughout multiple different games, and it especially comes early in games, which kind of puts them out. So I think, there's more to blame to go around. Number one, the defense. Maybe number two, the coaching staff. Number three, the offensive line. But Matt Ryan deserves some blame here. And again, you go look at the stats all you want. They look great. I don't care. But 16, I'm not trying to bash the guy a whole bunch. I still think, as you can see, I think he'll get better in the second half of the season. I think he'll step up in the beginning of those games, not make those bad decisions, which equal bad turnovers, and they actually can win some games, which maybe Falcons fans don't want. At this point now with the draft, thinking about the draft, I should say. But I at the end of the day, Matt Ryan's better than the number 16 quarterback, but based off his first half of the season play, that's where he belongs. He kept the team out of games early. He got them back in the game, but not really fully. Just weird decision-making from Matt Ryan this year, and that's really why he's down at 16. Phillip Rivers, kind of in the same area. He's you go look at the yardage. He's got a whole bunch of yards. I don't really care, though. It seems like he's starting to pick it up recently, and that kind of got him over the hump into the top 16. At 15 here, he's made some interesting turnovers early in games as well. That's kind of, I don't think his turnovers were as crucial as a guy like Matt Ryan's. But similar situation. He has more turnovers than you would want him to have at this point of the season. Looking at past Phillip Rivers. But lately, he's been picking it up, throwing the ball a little better downfield. Just some interesting decisions he's made that's kind of brought him down where we expected him to be if we were to predict in the beginning of the season. Second half of the year prediction, I'd say about the same. Maybe up a little bit, but I'd say about the same play as where he's playing at right now. And then 14 is Jimmy Garoppolo. A little surprising. Maybe we didn't expect Jimmy to be up here. He's starting, some games have been a game manager, and then some games he's kind of done better than what we expected. He could take care of the ball a little better if we're splitting hairs here, but he's getting better. You see him getting better, and that's kind of split there. Garoppolo, I haven't really been a huge believer in. Not that I thought he was really bad or anything. So at the same time, the second half of the year, could he kind of come back to where we thought he was going to be? But you can see him improving a little bit at the same time, so it's kind of splits it even. I think he can stay around the same spot here, but he's been impressive. That last game was great for him. And I guess he missed all of last year. Last year was his first year, really starting a year on the Niners, I should say. And then he got hurt right away. And, Shanahan made some little bit of changes here in his offense, and you see why they're improving. So he's still kind of learning, still kind of figuring out his team, and he's getting better. So he comes in at 14. Dak's at 13. Dak has like an MVP type game, and then he has a pretty bad game where he kind of costs his team, to be honest. It's kind of back and forth. He needs the protection. That's the main thing. I do like Dak, though. When it's a close game down the line at the end of the game, it seems like Dak steps up, and I like that a lot. I like the way he moves out of the pocket, can throw on the run. That's why he's at 13. But I think he stays about the same because he's going to have those games where he looks like easily a top 10 quarterback. Easily, I should say, a top 10 quarterback. But then he has those games where it looks like he's a bottom, towards the bottom. So that's kind of just Dak. I think he'll stay the same. But I do like Dak. Solid quarterback. Just a type of guy I would want on my team. But he's at 13 for now. At number 12, we're on to the 12 to 9. We're starting to get to the top. Number 12 is Carson Wentz. I have not been thrilled with Carson Wentz's play. I think people are a lot more a lot higher and a lot more hyped on him than I am. I do have him at 12. 12 is a good rank, and I do think he'll get better as season goes on. A lot of blame goes to receivers. I think there was like one or two games where the receivers had some bad drops. At the same time, within those games, Wentz had some bad throws. Since then, though, there hasn't been a whole bunch of big-time drops, like, maybe one a game here. But So I think a little too much blame is instantly put on the receivers. Wentz is, in crucial moments, too. A lot of times in third down, fourth down when they go for it. Interesting decision where to throw the ball. It's not terrible, but it's just an interesting decision. And he's off target. He's missing some throws. He's kind of feeling pressure sometimes, and that's where he does that. Sometimes he tries to be, maybe too much tries to be that hero. The MVP, the year he was going to win MVP, he was able to make those insane throws that blew you away. He's still capable of making those throws, but I think he tries to do it too much, and they're just not really landing. So I haven't been thrilled with his play in the first half of the season. It puts him at 12. That's saying a lot about Carson Wentz at the same time. I'm not thrilled with his play, but I think he can play much better because we know what he can do. So I think he'll go up, not a whole bunch. I think a little bit. I think people are higher on Wentz than I am. I just don't think it's that MVP season. I say MVP. He didn't win MVP, but you get what I'm saying. I don't think he's that right now. He can be that. But again, I expect him to go up. I just think anybody that has him above this, calm down a little bit. If you have him inside the top 10, I think you got to relax a little bit. You actually got to see what's been happening. Surprising one at 11, Teddy Bridgewater. We did not expect him to be here because he wasn't the starter to start the year. And even if you said he would start most of the games, you wouldn't expect him to be here. But Teddy Bridgewater played very, very well when he was in. He has a great supporting cast in terms of his offensive line, his coaching staff, Michael Thomas, the defense played great, put him in great situations. He did actually have some drops, though. He actually had the most drops percentage-wise, so that was interesting. But he was great. We saw when he first came in, he was just missing some throws, like barely missing some throws he should hit. Then he kind of fixed that. He was kind of, stepping in some sacks or running backwards, taking some sacks right when it came in. He fixed that right away. He just needed to knock the rust off, and he played great. Very, very accurate. And he kind of was in that perfect situation that perfect spot where he's not just a game manager. He's not just that. He's a step above that, but not making wild plays, crazy plays to be that hero. He was right where he needed to be, where it's impressive. And that's what I love about Teddy Bridgewater there, and he can continue to get better with more time. Obviously, he won't be ranked. That's why it says not ranked if Brees stays healthy, so he won't really get that time this year, but I'm confident about him in the future with the right system, the right team. But he was super impressive, and he's at 11. Jacoby Brissett, another guy that was super impressive. He's at number 10. No, it's just like Teddy. He's kind of, you can't call him a game manager because he's more of that. But with that Colts defense, that Colts offensive line, what they have, the great coaching, it's the same situation as Teddy and the Saints. That's all you need to be. But he was a little bit above that. And that helped win games. But he would make. He would go that next step above Teddy Bridgewater, a little bit above him, where he would make that game-winning throw. And we see the Broncos game. That's just one throw, just one example. I'm not basing it off of one, but where he evaded 2 sacks and just made a throw on the run from his own end zone. Throws like that he was capable of making. And the beauty is, I was always a believer in Brissett. I loved him out of NC State. I was higher on him than anybody. But I doubted him a little bit in the beginning of the year. I think him kind of getting thrown in there, he would have to get a little bit of a groove going. And I thought in the second half of the season he can play like that. But he did it in the first half of the season. So as long as he's okay, he can actually improve. Second half prediction, I say staying around the same rank here, around here. Like I said, I think as long as he's healthy, he can improve slightly. It's just hard for him to go ahead of, some of his quarterbacks. And you expect guys like Wentz to step up ahead, maybe some other guys. But Brissett has been very good with the ball and been a step above that game manager, which I love in that situation, that team. And he's made some big-time plays. So that's a guy, super impressive guy, really. And he cracked the top 10. Surprising. Number 9 is Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's been, super impressive this year compared to the last few years. Like, he stepped up when he needed to. He's throwing the ball like crazy when teams are knowing they're throwing the ball because that's recently because they're missing Kerryon Johnson. But so I'm impressed that way. But there's a lot of people out there that got him in their well into their top 8. I'm not going to agree with that. I think those people are getting a little crazy just because, you're finally see Stafford that you expected, the one that we saw early. And you look at the yardage, he's got great yardage. At this point when you have guys in the top 10 and you have to find things that separate them, I have to find flaws when there really isn't any flaws, but major ones, I should say. But I think kind of in crucial situations, he was kind of outdueled by some of these other quarterbacks ahead of them. I think those quarterbacks were a little more accurate, made a little more of those big-time plays to win the game. And then Stafford's kind of lacking that. If you had to split hairs, obviously I think highly of him. He's at 9. Obviously, I'm impressed with the kid stepping up this season after there was a lot of doubt after last season. I just think there was 8 quarterbacks better. And it's not really a hard decision for me. You can just see the play down the stretch, the crucial moments. That's kind of what separates them. And I guess wins, too, getting the wins, even though he may have got screwed out of a win. And second half prediction, I'd say down a little bit just because, nothing major. I don't expect him to start playing terrible, but it's kind of like last year. First half of the year was much better than the second half of the year. He didn't play as good as he was this first half of the year. But a big reason he's playing a lot better is because the offensive line is blocking much, much better than it was last year. But it got beat up at the second half of last season, and that's where the pressure started coming in. So I think a mixture of that can start happening. It's a mixture of that and the play going down a little bit, nothing major. It's just hard seeing him at number 9 quarterback second half of the year, to be honest, but we'll see. He's really airing it out. Love to see it. He's having a very good year. That's why he's at number 9. We're on to the next group of guys. Kirk Cousins at number 8. Surprising to see him up here at 8. He's played great. Right when the season started, I think they were trying to get him to be a game manager, and then they were down in games because they were playing some good teams, and they needed to make that extra play while trying to be a game manager the rest of the game, and he would kind of blow that extra big-time play that he needed to make. But then all of a sudden just was ridiculous. Like, he was the player of the month in October for a reason. He was playing out of his mind, making ridiculous throws that you'd really never seen from him. And maybe you've seen from him in one game last year against the Rams. That's like the only time. And you've seen this consistently throughout the last few games, the whole month of October, really. He was making some throws that not many guys can make, really, and it was very surprising. And it just felt like, in terms of play, but mainly energy-wise, it just felt like a different Kirk Cousins. So he is at number 8. Yeah, I think you compare him to Stafford. They had that battle. Kirk Cousins and Stafford had that battle. I think Cousins is a little more careful with the ball, making that extra play, even though the yardage may favor another guy like Stafford. But second half prediction, I'm going to say down a little bit. I think he can play close to the same level. But it's just hard to see Cousins at number 8 at the end of the year. I don't think maybe as good of play, but not too far off. It's just, again, end of the year with some guys rising up, we expect guys getting healthy. It's just very hard to see Cousins at number 8. Think he could come back down to earth a little bit. Not like last year, but I think better than last year. But, 8's a lot to expect for the second half of the year. Derek Carr, I've been super, super impressed with. Number 7. This guy has been, he had some turnovers that you wish you would have back, some unfortunate ones like the fumble against Green Bay that went out the end. So it's just unfortunate, but he's been airing the ball out. He's been very consistent with the ball. The ball placement looks just like a whole new man in the pocket. The way he steps up in the pocket and throws, he seems like he's getting better. And he seems clutch, too. Clutch situations, even if it's not like a big-time throw. It seems like, one of the better third-down quarterbacks, or in crucial situations, he makes the plays. He seems like he's getting better. Second half of the season, I say down, though. It's just kind of like the Kirk Cousins situation. I just think some other quarterbacks will come up a little bit. It's just hard to see Derek Carr being ranked at 7 at the end of the year, but I'm blown away by him so far. He's been playing very good. And people may not see that in the stats. I don't really know what his stats look like exactly. I have an idea, but he's been playing better than what people think is my point here. So he's been impressive. Tom Brady's at 6. Probably has the worst offensive line he's ever had, and he still played pretty solid. He's made some mistakes because of that. Still played solid. Maybe thought a little better at this point. I think he could stay about the same because he still has to deal with that offensive line. But he can have some better plays here and there. It's gonna be tough to pass some of the guys ahead of him. But it's Tom Brady. There's not a lot to get into. He's been pretty solid. Maybe not as many crazy throws as we're usually used to seeing from him, but still number 6 worthy. Number 5, Patrick Mahomes. Crazy that he missed that many games. He's still number 5. He's a big time player. It starts with. Everyone knows the arm strength and the vision while the play's happening. Everyone knows that. The ability to throw on the run, the ability to make ridiculous throws, to fit it in any space. But people don't notice is how he reads defenses. He actually, these throws are only possible because he can adjust the offense and read the defenses, and he'll know exactly where he's going to throw it and what's going to work before the play starts, and that's where he's underrated. And he's the best player in football, plain and simple. And he played like that when he was in and playing hurt some of the times. So even though he missed some games, he's still worthy of 5 to me the way he has played, no doubt. Second half of the season, I mean, this shouldn't really shock anybody. I expect he'll be better than number 5. Shouldn't really. It's hard to, I guess, pass the guys in the top 4 because who they are, but let's be honest here. He's going to step up. And then we're on to the top 4. It's crazy to see number 4 in there, but Lamar Jackson is number 4 on the list. And second half of the prediction, I think he'll stay about the same. You know, maybe guys like Mahomes can pass him. Maybe a guy like Brady can pass him, but he's easily, like clearly more than anybody getting better every single week. Early in the year, he's missing throws that barely missing these throws he should hit, starting to hit them now, and he's starting to run more and more. Super impressive. Yeah, I couldn't put that down arrow, even though like guy like Mahomes will pass him. Jackson will probably play at a better level, but may not be ranked 4 at the same time. So I'd said stay about the same. But he's been super impressive. Was high on him in the pre-draft process. I'm very happy for a guy like this. You know, this is a guy you root for, even if you're not a Ravens fan. It's crazy to see him at 4. And in terms of MVP rankings, which I do every week, you know, he actually might be higher than a couple of guys ahead of him. Because MVP rankings, you know, it's just you got to take all the offensive guys or even defensive guys and just, you know, their importance, their impact. And that's where Lamar Jackson might be higher than a couple of these guys. When we're talking quarterback, you still got to give the slight edge to guys like Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson. But Lamar Jackson, super impressive. Crazy to see him at 4. Aaron Rodgers at 3. You know, he's doing his thing. He's healthy and he's doing his thing. And my favorite thing with him, which goes unnoticed, because same thing Mahomes. People just are in shock about some of the throws that he makes, and you know the ability. I mean, his throw on the run to be able to get outside the pocket and set faster than anybody and throw it is super impressive and still impressive. You know, even though we've seen it a million times. But just like Mahomes, what people just forget about, what the average viewer forgets about, is what he does at the line of scrimmage. He's the offensive line of scrimmage. You know, there's for the most part there's plays LaFleur calls early, but after that, you know, Rodgers is the guy, and he should be the guy. You know, the adjustments he makes, and when you see him make adjustments, when you see him making crazy adjustments to the line, it seems like the play is always a big time play, and it's just because him and the talent he has and the brains that he has really is what it is. So he comes in at number 3. Really, the only game was that last game against the Chargers. You know that was a tough game. I don't expect too much of that. But that one, you know, it's a little tough. It's a little tough, and it could be, you know, it's so close between Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers. It could be the slight difference. I got Deshaun Watson at 2. What he's been able to do has just been just unbelievable too. Just his ability to move and escape sacks out of the pocket and make it. It's always at crucial moments too. It's a 3rd down, maybe it's a 4th down. You're in the red zone. You need a score here. You don't need a field goal. You know, you're at midfield. You need to convert here. It just seems to always be in those situations, and that is what Deshaun Watson is. It's nothing new. That's what he's always been, and he's a winner, and that's where it comes from right there. Some of those guys just have that. When you need it the most, the game is on the line, and the game could be on the line early in the game too. I'm not just talking about the end of the game. Deshaun Watson's the guy, and that's what he always had. That's why he was a winner, and that's why, you know, too many teams probably passed on him. You know, talk about teams passing on Mahomes too, but too many teams definitely passed on Watson, and people just were blinded by the fact that he's a winner. He has it. He wants it on him when the game's on the line, and he makes impossible plays in that situation, and you're born with that. That's something you're born with, and he's shown that and been super impressive. He's had a game, maybe 1 or 2 games here and there where, you know, still a good game, but, you know, you wish he can take care of the ball a little better. If I'm splitting hairs here, we're talking about the number 2 quarterback in football right now, but love his game. Enjoy watching him. Enjoyed watching him in college. Still enjoy it. Can't wait to see what he's got for us in the second half of the season. But yeah, guys like Watson, Rodgers, I'd say about the same. You know, they could be number 1. That's not much of an improvement because they're 2-3. So I'm talking just about their play. I think about the same. Maybe Watson could actually play better. The offensive line seems to be playing a little better. Could get healthier. You know, Laramie Tunsil missed the last game. Titus Howard, who I like a lot. So actually Watson could be better, but what's better? Is he going to be the number 1 quarterback in football? I don't want to rule it out. You never doubt that guy, but that's why I really couldn't put the up arrow. Russell Wilson has been the MVP of the league, you know, right there with guys like Christian McCaffrey. I guess you can argue some other guys too. I do that MVP ladder video, but Russell Wilson gets my vote so far for the MVP. Has been just simply magnificent is the best way to pull it. So some of the throws he makes, I mean, he's always made those throws. It seems like he's making more of them, and it seems like they're in those crucial must-make situations, kind of like we talked about Watson and Rodgers. And it's just play after play after play. And then you see the offensive line's not playing as good as it was last year, especially recently due to some injuries possibly. And you see him under pressure, and when he instantly gets pressured, and when he instantly gets hit, that's where his incompletions come, and there's not a lot of them. So it takes that for him to maybe get an incompletion, which we're used to a lot of the other quarterbacks getting several of a game. And then I say maybe because a lot of times under pressure, he's able to escape the sack, run around, make a ridiculous throw on the run, fit it in a tight window. And he's able to use his legs, and he's not afraid to, take a hit too, and hit the opposing defender too. So, I mean, I don't have to go on and on here. It's been pretty clear he's been not only the best quarterback, but the MVP of the league in the first half of the season. So super impressive. Another guy that you just got to root for, even if you're not a Seahawks fan. Like a lot of these guys at the top. Their energy, their knowledge for the game. It's just guys you just want on your team, and you got to root for. So super impressive list here at the top of quarterbacks. These guys are playing very good. Good to see a guy like Lamar Jackson up there. We'll do this video again at the end of the year. We'll see how it changes. That should be very interesting. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Again, if you're just skimming through, use one quarterback from every team. The quarterback that played the most for those teams in the first half of the season. It's based off the first half of the season only. I don't care about stats. I don't care about PFF grades. Stats are cool. They can kind of confirm what you see on the field. That's kind of what I use them for. It's cool to look at stats, but I'm not going to make rankings based off them. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Check out all our content. Plenty more to come. Please subscribe. Trying to get to that 40K goal. Appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.